Well, hey there, it's Jennie Wallach with the Wallach Group here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am so excited to chat with my friend Alison Harris on this episode of Agent Success Secret. So, Alison, we have known each other for many years now. You've been in real estate almost 20 years. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. I've just got you beat by a few, but at this age, we're still continuing to learn and grow. We're still maybe failing forward through this amazing career called real estate. And so that's what I want to chat with you about today. So, first off, just introduce yourself and say who you are and what you do, where you're from, all that good stuff.
I'm Alison Harris and I run the Harris Home Team in Savannah, Georgia. We are 5 agents strong. We're going to do about 75 units this year for about $38 million. And we are just kind of cruising along, having a good time and, really enjoying giving back to our community.
I love that. And you're being a little modest because I really think it's important, as most of us Keller Williams agents, we have this real estate Bible called, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And you've become that status of, breaking through that gross commission income and of $1 million. And it didn't just come by accident. You've had a lot of hiccups along the way. So just kind of share a little bit about your journey through real estate of how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So I became a real estate agent in 2006 and I joined Keller Williams in 2011. So I was at a small brokerage before then. And from that small brokerage, I brought with me a business partner and she and I ran a team together for just shy of 15 years if you total it all up. It was amazing. We did some incredible things together. She was a wonderful friend. We just did all kinds of great stuff. And I realized at a certain point that we were not running our business like a business and we were being very entrepreneurial and we had hit a ceiling. And I did some major soul searching and decided that it was time to launch my own brand and my own team, which I did in August of 2021. And that was swallowing a really big pill because not only did I have to have a really difficult conversation with somebody who was one of my very best friends, I also, I realized that I was going to take a giant step back in production and units to rebuild it the right way. And that's exactly what I did. So that was August of 2021. And Gary always says that you overestimate what you can do in 1 year and underestimate what you can do in 5 years. And that has never rung truer in my ears than looking at myself now, December of 2024, and what I've accomplished in that amount of time.
That's such an amazing story and, one that we can all learn from, whether it's having a tough conversation with an agent or a partner or a team member or even just yourself. You just knew there was more. You knew there was more in you and you wanted more for yourself. So once you made that decision, what did you do first?
Well, I reread the MREA, I'll tell you that much. That was step one. And then I made the decision to be really purposeful and not entrepreneurial. The
Mhm.
first big, big hurdle was untangling my giant mess of a database. That was my very first, it was a disaster. I own it. It was horrible. I couldn't get the information I needed out of it. It felt like I was feeding it, but not in an organized fashion. And it was just a disaster zone. And so spending the time, energy, and effort to get that right, and I really started with my VIPs first. And
Mhm.
then I created some challenges for myself to make sure that I had all these 5-star, which is what I called them, clients, which basically means first name, last name, email address, phone number. Like I just had to home address. I had to gamify it for myself. And
Yeah.
then I had to hire the right people once I figured out exactly what I wanted it to be to help me continue to implement it. Because spending 10 hours a day in a database is not me. That's not what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to do it well. And I'll stop caring as much as I should, and it'll still be a pile of spaghetti. So, that's really what I did. That was the first and most important move that I made.
Yeah, Allison, I have a similar story. If you follow the model in the book, you could be able to determine the amount of families you'd help each year and the transactions you would have based on a mathematical equation. And, over time, the numbers and the percentages have kind of evolved and it doesn't really matter. The point was that my coach said, well, Jennie, it's really simple. How many people are in your Met database? And guess what my answer was? I
What?
don't know.
Yeah. For sure.
So I got to go figure that out. And then I realized I was fooling myself because what I was maybe calling a met relationship really wasn't. I wasn't number one or two in their mind whenever it came to them
Real
thinking
estate.
about real estate. And so you got clear on your database, you brought in people that could help you with your database. And then what happened?
And then this is the boring part. Like, I wish I could tell you that it was something magic, but followed the lead generation model. Ran a 36 touch, I did a 12 direct, and then I didn't stop. I just kept doing it. And for a long time, I've been a realtor for a very long time, and I've been at Keller Williams for a very long time. And I have always been looking for the magic bullet. Like, I sit at family reunion, I did this for years, and I sat in breakout sessions and I was listening, and I just thought that there was like one little thing I didn't know, or one little outside company that I could hire that was going to be the magic that was going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there is no magic, which is what I've learned all of these years later. You are the magic. And the magic recipe or the magic spell or whatever you want to call it is just doing the same boring stuff every day, every month, and being really consistent about it and then reaping the rewards. And, that's lead generation, that's running your touch programs, that's geographic farming. You just run the play and
It,
you don't stop and you keep doing it. And
it's
that's it.
it's so not sexy, but
It's not.
consistency is it. That is all that this is about. I know sometimes newer agents or agents struggling to get to that next level are like you and me looking for that thing. And I think now that I know you pretty well, I think you were so consistent and it was so boring that you continued to grow your business. You continued to grow with people, whether it was on your team or in your community. And over time, you earned the right to add in some additional levers or methods. And I think you did a great job with that with your geographic farming plan. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So geographic farming is definitely my favorite lead generation source. I Building community is very important to me, and I do not do basic geographic farming. So, textbook geographic farming is sending 12 postcards a year to a certain area, neighborhood, pick a number of houses, draw a circle around them, set them, and there's even services where you can set it up at the beginning of the year and never touch it again. And that is not what I'm doing. So, what I have done is I have very strategically created a geographic farm that is, in my case, 1960s, 70s neighborhoods. And I have found smaller neighborhoods and made a larger farm group together. And by doing that, I've created a geographic Facebook page for all of those neighborhoods, which essentially circumvents nasty HOAs or territorial boards that are running Facebook pages. So I created a Facebook page that serves a larger area where there's not just one leader, and I've become the leader. I promoted myself to that for that area. We do multiple events a year. We do a neighborhood yard sale. I do a monthly card night. We also do multiple movies at our neighborhood pool. It's, this 1960s cool, like homespun, like giant field playground feel. Like, it feels very vintage and nostalgic, and we just lean into that. And it's wonderful. And so not only have I gotten the opportunity to watch the values increase in the neighborhood because of the community that we've built there and watch it outpace our MLS average price point increases. But, I've also become sort of the mayor of the neighborhood, and now I'm able to give back in other ways. Like, I'm able to give acts of service and become the person that people need. If somebody needs to put a roof on the house, I'm the first call that they're making. And so even though I may not be the realtor at this moment because they don't need one, I am the source of the information, which helps me understand that I will be that key person and that key relationship when the time comes. So it's really treating them like a mini database.
It is. It is your micro database, which
Mhm.
is super cool. You're just very honed in and strategic on who they are and what's important to them. Now, it's a Facebook group. What is the group name? I'm just curious.
So ours is called Kensington Park plus Neighbors Open Chat. Kensington Park slash Oakdale, which is two of the neighborhoods plus neighbors open chat. And then there's a description, like in the actual picture of the Facebook page, it outlines what neighborhoods are, kind of welcome and included. So I
And so
used. two neighborhoods plus neighbors, and then, gave them a physical kind of description.
And they have to answer all your questions in order
They
for,
do. And
but
they're
it's a,
pretty simple.
yeah.
Yeah, it's basically we don't want like bots or like people from weird places. So it's simply what street are you on? What neighborhood are you in? Like what actual subdivision? What zip code are you in? There's actually two zip codes, and I know the difference, and I know what streets are which zip code, so I can very easily. And then why do you want to join the neighborhood? And if they don't answer all of those questions, then they're not approved. And we're very careful, and we've curated it to be actually the neighbors. And it's which is even higher value. If you're a member of a neighborhood page where they let just about anyone in, you know that that turns into trash pretty quick and just a big gossip page. And that is not what this particular page is. And we have well over 1,000 people on our page.
That's amazing. So you are the monitor. You
I
have
am.
some help maybe, but you're the boss lady when it comes to this.
I
The
am the boss lady. I do have some other neighborhood folks that are also admins, and they have agreed and they understand kind of why I'm running the page. They absolutely get it. And that they know that if there is any sort of discipline that needs to be done, or maybe turning off commenting or anything like that, they're willing to step up and be sure that they're running the page because they view it as an asset to the community. And I don't have to be the bad guy, which has been great.
So if someone was just getting started, Allison, and they wanted to follow your lead and get, this is a great time of year. Maybe they're planning out this next year of what they're going to implement for their community or their clients. Where do they start? How do they first get started with this?
The first thing you're going to want to do is decide what areas are interesting to you because you'll be much more likely to be engaged if you're interested. So if you're a stakeholder, you live in the neighborhood, that might be a good place to start. And if you are a stakeholder and you live in the neighborhood, you also might know what other neighborhoods in the area are similar or would have, maybe grandparents and children that live in them. You'll have a better idea of like what kind of cross-pollination happens between the neighborhoods. Not necessary, but that's helpful. I would also go to your MLS and I would look at the last maybe 3 years of sales and see if there's any one real estate agent who has a large market share, and then make a decision if you can or should take that over. Like that's a strategic choice because you will definitely, bite into their market share, and you have to decide if you're willing to do that.
Yeah.
If it's a good friend or something, you may choose not to. But certainly you may not be concerned about those particular guardrails. But if there's anybody who has a really large market share, it'll be harder to get a larger market share. So it'll be great if there's nobody who's sold more than 5 or 6 houses in a 3-year period, that's wide open. They are ready for the taken.
So, did you first start with some kind of messaging like, hey, people, here's what's going to happen? Is this a letter or a postcard or an email?
So you certainly can do that if you'd like. For me, it was much more organic. And the way I started it is not necessarily how I would start it now.
Okay.
I think an introduction letter note as like your neighbor and real estate professional would be a great way to do it.
Okay.
I instead created the Facebook page and then probably 3 to 5 months later started sending monthly postcards, and I started to get more and more purposeful about it. And then in year 2, we added the events, and we've just gotten, and then we've become really consistent with that. So you have to make your plan, and then you have to execute on it and be consistent. So the easiest thing to be consistent with is the postcards. And you certainly could just drop 12 Wise Pelican postcards that are, pre-done, no problem. You could do that for sure. Maybe a cocktail recipe and a this and a that, whatever it is. Or you can get really purposeful about those and make a couple of those postcards around your events or something along those lines.
Well, especially because you're building out your calendar for this community specifically
Mhm.
for just events for them. It's
Yeah.
exclusive. It's exclusive.
Absolutely.
So, 3 movies sounds like a lot to me because that is a big event. And how many people show up for each of those?
So we cap the RSVPs at 250,
Okay.
and we sold out our very first one this December. So that was probably cumulatively our 7th or 8th movie night, I would think, that we've done. And we started by renting the equipment, and then we realized that we should just buy it if we're gonna, like, we ran it once with just renting the equipment, and we're like, we loved that. That was awesome. That felt like us. And we tried a couple of other events that didn't feel like us. they were fine. We did a cookie swap in the neighborhood, and then we did a back to school water day. Like we did a bunch of other things and ultimately landed. So you may not find your thing the first try. And it
Okay.
may take you a little bit to figure out what it is that you want to do. And then we made that event really scalable. So it took us a while to get it figured out, but now we have an SOP for it. We have a playbook available. Essentially my husband has a role in it because he used to be a technical director at a theater, so he knows how to set up a projector. So I had that in my world. So if you have a partner who is really good in baseball, maybe you want to put a baseball tournament together. I don't know. Like, think about the skills you have around you and the people you have around you and leverage them.
Yeah.
And then now I own this awesome popcorn machine. We decided to invest in that. And I have a 22-foot inflatable screen. I have a projector. I have a PA system. I didn't know I was going to have all of those things. But
Yeah.
you know what it took to rent it, I realized that we just had to pay that twice and I could own all of it. And then it becomes incredibly scalable.
So, Allison, how do you pay for all this stuff?
We have sponsors and we have, lender sponsors who like they'll like for our movie night for the winter, we always have a hot cocoa bar and our um top lender wants to and has told us multiple times he will be the sponsor of the hot cocoa bar. It costs us maybe $40, $60. I don't know to do it. And, he definitely is more generous and gives us, but he wants his name on that hot cocoa bar. So you just have to make sure you remember how to thank people. You have an opportunity to get on a microphone at a movie night, which I really like, a little curtain speech. I dressed up as the Grinch at this last one. I'm always in a costume. I'm just a giant dork. And it really is more about like, it makes it easier for people to come and talk to me.
Right.
If I'm in a silly costume or, I'm very approachable. Jennie, I remember one time, I think we were at family reunion, you complimented me on my necklace that says my name. And
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
remember telling you the reason I wear this is not because I love it. It's because, I mean, I do love it now. It's kind of become like my little,
Yeah.
I'm like Carrie in Sex and the City, but everybody always knows my name and they always feel comfortable talking to me because I wear this little gold necklace that has my name on it. And
Yeah.
it seems like such a subtle thing. And I don't wear a name tag on a regular basis, but if somebody sees me in a grocery store and they're like, oh, I think that might be Alison Harris. Is this confirmation? So it's like I always try to give people ways to
That's so
approach me in a
smart.
very easy way. So, just it's little things like this, or wearing the Grinch costume at the movie theater, like,
Right.
or the movie at the park. The kids feel confident coming up and talking to me. The parents know exactly who I am. I'm easy to spot in the crowd. So, I put myself in these situations that are maybe a little awkward, but I'm also known for costumes. I mean, have you seen my Halloween costumes, my family neighborhood or my family Halloween costumes?
Yes.
So that's also something I'm known for. So
I love all of these ideas, and they're so smart and just an easy way for you to be who you are and to engage with your people. So how, being the leader of a team, so let's speak to team owners and team leaders now. How do you, I mean, you're getting to have fun by building your business around your neighborhood. How are your other team members lead generating or prospecting or finding buyers or sellers if, you're really focused on this?
So everybody has their own GPS, and one thing in their GPS is always their lead generation lever. So, I have somebody on my team who's super good at sign calls and really good at conversion on the phone. So she makes an effort to take as many Google local services calls as she can. I have another one who really focuses on open houses. She's a killer at open houses. So she does 3 every week, but that's not a team standard. I don't make everybody do 3 a week, but
Yeah.
Kim is incredible at open houses. She can almost always convert a first-time home buyer at an open house if she is doing the right play. And she knows that. So that's where she lives. I've got another one who's super great on the phone and loves to call our IDX leads that come in. So, not everybody does the same thing. Not everybody has the same seat on the bus, but where people excel is where I'm going to stick them and where I'm going to give them the most number of opportunities. And so I think it's really important to remember that we're all different. And, my team knows that they are expected to come to movie night unless they have some prearranged travel. They know that that is a pretty easy lift. They're going to, arrive at X time. It takes us literally less than 20 minutes to clean up at this point. We are that quick. But there's expectations around who's going to be where and when and what their particular job is. So, there's not a lot of standing around. It's very organized and it just feels good. So lead generation is different for everybody on the team. And, where they shine is where I'm going to allow them to be.
All right. So
Allow them to be feels wrong though. That's where I'm going to make sure they shine.
okay, so we started this conversation together today about having a tough conversation with another person that was in your world. How do you have tough conversations with your current team members if they aren't hitting the standards or following the rules?
Well, that's always the hard part, right? So, part the most important thing is to have permission to engage. So I have already established a relationship with them where they know that we have a accountability meeting every week and they know if things are not moving correctly or things are not moving in the right direction, that's where we're going to talk about it. So there's no surprises and I don't, take them off at the knees and I don't surprise them. Like nobody's afraid to get coffee with me because they know that I'm not going to take them to coffee and, do something evil to them. Like that's not what we do. So we already have a prearranged time that we're going to sit and talk. And I have a, script of what I go through. And if I know that I need to talk about something in that meeting, I have it already plugged in. So, we check in, what's working, what's not working. Let's visit your GPS. So we already know the framework and they know that there's a place in there for both of us to bring up that something's not working. So I've created an environment where it's expected and a reoccurring meeting where they know that's going to happen. And just creating that framework and that environment makes it very easy. They can absolutely bring something to me. They know the rules for engagement. If they have an emergency, they can come to me anytime. Like that's what I am here for in their world. Like I am a support person for them. But at the same time, they are very clear that this 30-minute meeting one time a week where it's me and them and we're following this script, there is a place to have these little difficult conversations. It may simply be like, hey, I noticed that you've been stomping around the office and really grumpy this last week. And I just want to remind you that one of our team standards is that we don't bring what's outside into the office. So is there something that's happening here that's upsetting you? Or is there something that's outside the office that's upsetting you? What's going on? And then I come from a place of concern, but I'm, addressing the problem of you're stomping around.
Yeah.
Why? Like, that's not what we do here. So it's also about having team standards that are clear and upfront as well.
Oh, that's so good, Allison. I'm going to have you share with us maybe your one-on-one script or combo, and we can share that with everyone because I feel like even
It's
if it's
pretty simple, but
yeah,
it works. It's effective.
yeah, that's all that really matters. And it's just a non-negotiable
Mhm.
that we're going to get together and have a conversation each week. And so they're going to be more accountable to actually
Absolutely.
doing.
Just like, if you have a MAPS coach, whoever is listening to this, if you have a MAPS coach, you know that you're going into that meeting. And if you haven't done what you said you're going to do, they're going to hold you accountable, right? So your meetings with your team and your team members aren't anything different. Like it's a coaching session. That's it. So, that's why it creates such an easy environment to have those kinds of conversations.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. And I just need you to share with everyone how they can best reach out to you because they're definitely going to have additional questions, whether it's
Sure.
about just team building and growth and MREA, following the model, whether it's your geographic farming or anything that you've shared. How can people best find you?
Certainly, you can Google me, email me, do all of those things. But the single easiest way, because you don't have to remember how many L's are in my name, is to find me on Instagram because my Instagram handle is selling Savannah. So pretty simple. I've
Very
had it as long as Instagram has been around. I was
smart.
smart and grabbed that one early. So selling Savannah is my Instagram handle. That is going to be the easiest place where you don't have to remember that I am Allison with one L. And Jennie with an IE. You understand.
Right. That's right. I need a necklace, and
You do.
that's why I'm always like, it's just Jenny,
Just
not
Jennie.
Jennifer, and it's spelled weird. Yeah, but we can relate.
Totally. Well, I hope when I see you at family reunion, you'll be
Oh,
donning A Jennie necklace.
I think I will. I think I will. I appreciate you and I can't wait to see you soon. And thanks for sharing all your good stuff.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Anytime.
All right. Well, I know I'll be seeing you soon.
Thanks.